It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. It means you're locked and loaded here on Wrestling Inc. on their channel across all platforms for the post AEW Dynamite Wednesday night podcast. I am your host, Justin LaBar, coming to you with my partner in crime. Most podcasts these days. He is north of the border in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He is more than 20 years veteran, seasoned experience WWE referee, Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, good evening.
Good evening, my friend. How are you?
I am good. Good to be with you. Issa, of course, normally scheduled to be with us on Wednesday nights. She, once again, is dealing with, I believe, some power issues down in Puerto Rico. So, as of now, not here. Maybe she does a run-in later on. But for now, it is J and J. It is double J. Ain't we great? Big shout-out to the entire chat room who's there waiting for us as we started this live recording of the podcast. And for those of you that continue to join in, we appreciate it. And if you're not watching live, if you're watching in the archive, we appreciate you. Or if you're decided the audio route is your cup of tea, you don't want to look at us, you just want to hear us. Okay, fair enough. We appreciate you as well. Whatever you're on, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are, leave a comment right now. If you're on a platform that allows you to leave a 5-star rating, subscribe, tell a friend, do any of that stuff you can do to further help this podcast grow. Most notably, tell a friend about the good stuff that's going on here at Wrestling Inc. And people already started with football talk. We can't even get into the wrestling. They're already starting with football talk. Is best in the smokers world jumping in quick on the draw with a $5 super chat, saying he just wanted to chime in and say, enjoy the free win tomorrow for me and my Washington Commanders against the Bears. Now we have the worst owners of football. I hate my life. Yeah, well, we had the worst owner for a long time. So wow. I feel for you, my friend. I feel for you. Ride through the darkness. It's always darkest before it's dawn.
Yes. Yeah. At least that's a saying, and hopefully it is true.
Yeah, for Chicago fans, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jimmy, a big show tonight for AEW, 4-year anniversary show since the inception of Dynamite. A lot to talk about. Certainly a different looking Dynamite than what it did look like 4 years ago, as we'll touch on. But before we do that, let's talk about probably the biggest news item of the last 24 hours. It does have something to do with Dynamite, but it also has something to do with their original counterpart that was NXT. Of course, NXT has since moved off Wednesdays, has made a new home on Tuesdays on USA Network. Some would say that maybe AEW ran them off of that Wednesday night. You can have your opinion to that of how it goes. But nonetheless, they've been apart for a while now. NXT Tuesday, AEW Wednesday. Well, next week, AEW is going to have to do a Tuesday show because them being on TBS, Major League Baseball playoffs have started, so there's a lot of preemption going on. It's going to move AEW's programming all around, not just Dynamite, but Rampage and Collision as well. So next week's Dynamite's going to be on Tuesday. They're marketing and billing it as Titled Tuesday, and that's got quite a show that's being built, as we, again, will touch on as we go through Dynamite tonight. NXT seems to be countering that programming with, I don't even want to say a 1-2 punch. It's about an entire fistful of knuckles that they are packing this punch here. And we've seen some crossover from main roster stars as of late showing up on NXT. But listen to this lineup of Raw and or SmackDown stars that are going to be infused into next Tuesday's NXT. You're going to have Asuka going up against Roxanne Perez. And then in addition to that, we're going to have John Cena, Cody Rhodes, and Paul Heyman are all advertised for some aspect or story of the show. I mean, right there, if I said to you, you're going to have Asuka in a match, plus you're going to have John Cena, Cody Rhodes, and Paul Heyman, that's something that a house show would gladly take. And now they're putting out here on USA, on NXT, up against Dynamite. What are you making of this Tuesday night one-off war next week?
Yeah, it's very interesting that those names are appearing. Yes, there have been some filtering down to the NXT brand from the main roster, but nothing to this extent. John Cena, Cody Rhodes, who's apparently making a big announcement, and Paul Heyman also. That goes to show you maybe how much WWE is viewing Adam Copeland, the rated R superstar, as a big acquisition and could be a big time draw for that company. So they're trying to counter program that. Anybody who thinks any differently that the WWE is playing I think Bully Ray put it a chess game, a masterful chess game to try and attract their audience. Because this past week's number for NXT was very good. Like very good. Yeah. So they want to keep that going. They want to keep that momentum going. And when you have names that we just mentioned on that show, that's incredible. And it's going to be interesting to see the numbers next week. You know what? For me, ratings are just cool to look at, but they don't reflect what I like and what I don't like. But at the same time, I find it interesting that they're going all out in this capacity, especially since AEW is advertising Adam Copeland's first match on that same night.
Yeah. It's certainly not a coincidence that Tuesday's NXT is beefed up the way it is. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's even a few more layers beyond that. I agree. I think it shows, despite WWE maybe not having a place for Edge anymore as a wrestling role, they still understand that him going someplace new like this is still a something that they have to compete against. I think beyond that too, it also comes to, so he's in his first match. There's a draw there, his first match in AEW, and I think if you're NXT, as I said earlier, you've already moved yourself once, off of a night that AEW is on. You certainly don't want AEW just to crop up randomly on a Tuesday and for them to at all dare to beat you. I mean, how bad does that look where you've been trying to own Tuesday nights now for over a year and a half, I forget what the timeline is now, and are doing great things on NXT. And then if the other company comes on and does a preemption show that they have to do on a Tuesday and they take a big chunk out of you, that's kind of devastating. And also devastating that you have had so much momentum on NXT Tuesdays. You don't want to see that momentum get stifled because of something that's out of your control, because TBS had to move programming around. So it puts, so yeah, I agree. I think this is, I mean, look, short of them announcing Roman Reigns, WWE is pulling out all their big hitters for this Tuesday show.
No, they absolutely are. And again, like you said, I find it very, very interesting.
It will be.
And curious to see what the numbers are going to be.
Yeah, and I think last night's NXT, I think it came out to be over 850,000. So again, one of the better shows. I mean, certainly unopposed next Tuesday with this kind of lineup, you could make a case for NXT topping the 1 million mark. Whether or not they do that, because they are going to be competing with AEW, and by the way, AEW and NXT are going to be competing with sports in general, with Major League Baseball. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything does shake out. Of course, WrestlingInc.com. We'll have your news for that and all the updates and all the different other levels to explore. We'll have all that news round the clock for you. All right, Jimmy, let's go ahead and jump into AEW Dynamite tonight. Coming to us from Stockton, California. It is the 4-year anniversary since they cropped up on Wednesday nights. And we start out and we actually get a quick little backstage. So an unusual start for AEW's script, but we get Renee Paquette backstage with Jericho and Omega, who of course are going to team up again later tonight, but then they get interrupted by Adam Copeland. And we just got a foursome of Canadian royalty right here with the four. Edge says hello to longtime friend Chris Jericho, introduces himself to Kenny Omega. So just right off the bat, we're gonna end up getting Adam Copeland, Edge. It's gonna get used for me to say that. We're gonna get him obviously to main event the night tonight with his explanation of why he's in AEW. But what did you make of their decision to right off the bat go to backstage and to show him backstage? So that'd be the first time you see him on Dynamite.
I didn't agree with it. I didn't like that decision because here you've been promoting this big talent, this big signing, arguably the big, top 3 biggest signings in company history to come from WWE or to come from outside the company. And you're saying, he's got a message. He's got his state of the edge. I have to stop.
His mission statement.
Mission statement. There you go. Thank you very much. So you're promoting this, and you want that the crowd, not only at home but the crowd live, the first time to see him is when he makes his entrance to the ring for that mission statement. I think, because that's when I think you get the biggest pop. I think the pop could have been bigger later on, but it was nice having all the Canadians there, being Canadian myself, and also the mention of Timmy's, which is a well-known coffee establishment up here and stuff like that. But at the same time, it just, I don't know. I'm just afraid that in my opinion, as soon as I saw that, I said, cool. But at the same time, I said, it might take away from that entrance later on in the show when people are craving him, wanting to see him, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I will say I did fear that they were going to do more of this. I feared that leading up to him actually taking the ring to the live audience. I feared they were going to do a bunch of these backstage where we were going to get, him crossing paths with different people, and they were going to kind of tease and play into what he later would do in the ring, which was kind of run down a laundry list of potential opponents. So having gone down that path in my mind, I'm happy they didn't put that to paper, and I'm glad that they kept it just at this brief one. And it was with this fellow Canadian. So
right.
Yeah, interesting choice here. This kind of speaks more to the rest of this episode of Dynamite, and going back to last week, what we talked about. Tonight's Dynamite only has 5 matches. Last week's Dynamite had 4. So kind of picking up where we left off last week, they are taking a turn of doing more promos, more skits, more character work, and kind of, not having to cram 20 pounds of matches into a 10-pound bag, which I feel is more effective overall. I feel like we got more accomplished tonight with different characters and storylines than we would have maybe 4 years ago when we're cramming in 2 hours 8 matches.
Just one little critique about how it is presented on television. They need to let things breathe a little bit too, in between those interesting backstage segments and in-ring promos and stuff like that, instead of going directly to something else, because you want things to remain in people's minds, and sometimes you can get them to forget things rather quickly.
Yeah. So we get our first match here. It is Nick Jackson going up against the international champion Rey Fenix. Of course, we've pretty much established this is how they start. The first match of Dynamite now is have that title on the line, and this match is going to be won by Fenix with a roll up. It's kind of a back and forth bit of leverage, but he counters Jackson and gets the roll up win. So we're seeing more and more of each of the Young Bucks in some singles action here as of late. And Rey Fenix, not surprising, successfully retains, considering he just got it on an audible call that is a few weeks ago. But what did you make of Rey Fenix retaining? That's the right call, and the Young Bucks becoming a little bit of a singles act right now.
No, I think it's the right call to have him retain, because you don't want to play hot potato with the title, so to speak. Let him see how he flourishes with the title. He seems to have the audience enthralled with a lot of this, because he can do some incredible stuff in the ring. Let's not take that away from him. But at the same time, as far as the Young Bucks doing a little more single stuff, I'm cool with that. But at the end of the day, I feel they are in heart a tag team, and one without the other kind of makes you go, I miss them as a tag team. But as far as the match itself, again, I thought it started well. It started telling a story. These guys were selling and stuff like that. But then, like you said, they go into this incredible stuff going into the finish, which was a roll up after stuff like a cutter off the top, and the what they call it, the looked like the Canadian Destroyer but reverse. And there was a lot of impact moves that could have been the finish, and people bought into it. And at a couple of times I thought, man, that's just too much. It's different. Like if you do the cutter off the top and both guys are selling before the crawl over and, the draping for the pin, you can get a 2 count out of that. But, Jackson hit the cutter and went straight to the pin like he wasn't selling any of it. It just the little things like that kind of bother me. But these guys, they put it out there. I'll give them that, man. They went all out.
They absolutely did, and there is I cannot think of the name off the top of my head as well. Of a reversed Potter, but then they actually did hit a Canadian Destroyer at one point, and I tweeted this too. That irks me. Like, again, there's a lot of moves that we can make this argument about, but it's like that's a finish worthy move, and that move has credibility and history in the pro wrestling business to be a finisher. I get that pro wrestling evolves and the pace and the things. I get that things evolve, but I still that's one of those ones. Can't we hold on and preserve that? What about that move do we think needs to be transitional and needs to be, one of 50 bullets or stab wounds that the killer comes back from? I mean, let that. I know they have agents / producers. Surely somebody has to have said by now, we really don't need to use that to get from letter C to letter E here. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. That drives me nuts though. Because I think maybe because I remember where I was, and I remember the first time I ever saw that move, and it was so to me, I was like, that's something I've never seen before in wrestling. And oh, by the way, it looks like it's so damn devastating. It looked like it just decapitated a person's head. So for it to be soiled in this way. That's the word I'm using. Soiled.
No, you're preaching to the choir, my friend. That's all I can tell you, because it seems like head trauma doesn't do it, but the roll up seems to be the most devastating move in pro wrestling today.
But then later we're going to sell head trauma.
Yes.
Stay tuned to that, folks.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Stay tuned to that.
It's selective when to sell it, I guess.
Yes. Bryce Remsburg was the ref for that match. Again, I kept track of all the refs just to keep it going. And it's relevant to say to this one, since Ray Phoenix was one of the two participants in the match in question. Once again, another episode of AEW programming. Rick Knox, no officiating duties.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I'm going to guess we're on some kind of a suspension or some type of disciplinary action at this point.
Exactly. I think it's more suspension because my understanding is he's buddies with the Bucks, who are EVP. So I don't know. I don't think he's gone, but some disciplinary action was taken for what happened a couple of weeks ago.
All right. Well, I don't know if there's going to be any discipline action at the TBS Master Control, but last week there's some problems with video transmission. This week there's some problems with audio transmission, Jimmy.
Here's the thing, though, because it happened up here in Canada, and we get it transmitted on TSN up here in Canada, and they don't get. I have it on good authority. They don't get their feed from TBS. They get their feed from the truck. So the issue was not with TBS; it was with the truck, and they're putting the blame on TBS.
See, now that's interesting, because last week they put the blame on TBS as well, because there was the video glitches, and we had the same conversation where you get the TSN feed, we get the TBS feed here in the States. So last week you kind of thought, oh, maybe the TSN grants the TBS feed, but now you're saying no, it's coming from the source. It's coming from AEW.
Well, I have it on. I have it on good authority. I don't want to, give away my source, but
don't give away your source. But yeah,
but someone did mention to me and messaged me and said, hey, Tony Khan putting the blame on TBS is not right.
Ooh, Jimmy. Let's Jimmy, good little detective work here.
Accidental detective work, because I didn't know that either. It was my buddy who messaged me and told me that. So,
all right, Gumshoe Korderas. So there we have it. So potentially it's a TK maybe putting it on TBS when it shouldn't be, but nonetheless, they show a video vignette. They show a video skit of Adam Cole at Roderick Strong's house, and Roddy's got like a scooter for him, and of course, Taven and Bennett are looking on, not amused at all at the boys having their little party together. So we see it the first time, and you can faintly hear the audio. It sounds like you can hear the echo. It sounds like it was playing fine to the house, to the crowd in the arena, and the little bit of audio we were getting on TV was the picking up of it over the house speakers, but it's very distant, very you had to really try to read lips to even make out anything. So they show it, and then later, we have a commercial, whatever they come back and comments where commentary says, "Oh, TK's putting the blame on TBS." We're going to show it again. We see it again, hear it perfectly fine. That's interesting. That's a little bit of a fun fact of question there. Audio issues aside, once you can hear it, what you make of the skit?
No, it was entertaining. I'm the one thing I'm enjoying about AEW now is they're expanding outside of, hey, we're a wrestling company and we thrive nothing but in-ring product. They're starting to expand, maybe at times a little bit too much with the outside the ring stuff and backstage segments and skits and taped segments. But at the same time, at least so far, I'm finding them entertaining.
Yeah, I find it entertaining as well. I would be remiss, and I know that later MJF does try to make a phone call to Adam Cole. I really do. I am really wondering where this is all going, because are we sticking with the MJF Adam Cole story? Are we going to try to deflect and I don't know. I'll be curious to see what if there is a grand plan and all this interconnecting, because MJF's got his own now problems separately over here with the new opponent or picking up of a new opponent from last week. So be curious to watch, and I guess a lot of it's going to depend on Adam Cole's what his actual health prognosis is of when he can get back in the ring. Is there any payoff that could be done anytime soon? Terry Allen Jr., Jimmy, they got a question for you. Says, does podcast assist paying any bills?
Yeah. Well, I keep those things confidential and to myself. Sorry about that, Terry.
We don't talk about money in the pro wrestling business.
Yes.
You don't tell him what he's making.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't tell you what he's making. That's only going to cause problems.
Exactly.
Only going to cause problems. No problem here. Griff Garrison's in the ring. Griff Garrison, excuse me. It's a GIF.
Mm-hmm.
Griff Garrison's in the ring.
Yeah.
Waiting for his opponent. And would you know, they found him.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Wardlow? They found him. Here comes Wardlow. Wasting no time to get to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Gets right in the ring. Starts beating the shit out of Garrison. The crowd quickly picks back up where they left off. Wardlow. 5 power bombs later, and ref Paul Turner calls it quits. TKO. We're done here, folks. And Wardlow announces the winner and exits through the crowd. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Jimmy, I thought this was perfectly done.
Well, it was done well to reintroduce him. Let's put it that way. Hopefully they know what they have here and can capitalize on it, because this guy is a star. He really is a star, but he just wasn't presented that way in his previous incarnation on the brand. So hopefully they do it right this time.
Well,
and they got off to a right start. Let's put it that way.
Well, no, what's frustrating is in previous incarnations, they presented him as a star. They presented him as a star, but then they would constantly they would get to here and then they would just stop.
Yes.
Whether it be his TNT title run, or most notably, he's like the last guy to beat MJF, I believe. Mm-hmm. You know, he beats MJF, and then MJF disappears from TV for a while. We think probably because there was some behind the scenes, chess going on between he and Tony Khan. But they get to a certain point and then they stop.
Right.
It's like, how do you not follow through with this magic of one of your, essentially homegrown guys?
Exactly. And that's the big thing too. He's one of the homegrown guys. It's not going outside the bubble, so to speak, and having to bring someone in to gravitate to that spot.
Yeah, it's so we'll see. Hopefully, let's hope that this is the start of some consecutive, consistent booking. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, all of a sudden you look at the AEW landscape and it's amazing. Just the shakeup of the departure of CM Punk and now the question of Adam Cole's health, and mm-hmm. now the arrival of Adam Copeland. All of a sudden, in just a weird sequence of shakes, it feels like the AEW landscape for the men's, specifically for the chase of the men's world title, has got a fresh coat of paint on it. Mm-hmm. Especially if Adam Cole is kind of sidelined, and so they're going to kind of do some comedy stuff with he and Roddy and go in that relationship. If he can't get in the ring, and if he and MJF can't have any more matches anytime soon, obviously we have Jay White, which we'll talk about here in a moment. Mm-hmm. But you have Adam Copeland, who shows up and has named. Mm-hmm. How interesting the AEW World Title would be to him. Mm-hmm. Wardlow's got tons of history with MJF, so let's not ignore that. I mean, all of a sudden, it's a very interesting plate for a booker to work with here.
Absolutely.
All right, we get the Butcher, Blade, and Kip Sabian going up against the trios champions of the Acclaim and Billy Gunn here. The Acclaim given a little rap, as people love to hear and see. But at the end of the day, they retain their trios title, getting the win here. It's been a while, I feel like, since we've seen the Acclaim on Dynamite. So this was good because, again, they're one of the most over acts. So in my mind, put them on TV every week.
No, I hear you. But at the same time, it just felt like it was just thrown together, so to speak, But other than that, these guys are very entertaining. And like you said, the people love these guys. So give the people what they want, because even people at home who maybe tuning in, with fresh eyes, seeing this, say, hey, people love these guys. And then they pay attention and they go, oh, I can see why they like these guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Christopher, back to the Wardlow match. Man, Brian Pillman Jr. leaves and Griff Garrison just gets destroyed. That's actually a fair comment. Obviously, Pillman and Garrison were in a tag team, and Pillman's now over on the other side. And so what is there for Griff Garrison to do? I guess it is
So he's paying the price for him leaving?
Well, he's paying the price of no longer having his tag team.
There you go.
That's what he's paying the price for right now. We get a backstage, or not backstage, we get a pre-tape vignette. These have been great with Artist City and Tony Storm, and the takeaway here is she is now to be referred to as timeless Tony Storm. Jimmy, we'll get back to her briefly later when we get to her match and there's not much to say about it because it's pretty straightforward. Thoughts on thoughts on the vignette, thoughts on the repackaging of Toni Storm out of her Outcast days.
I like the repackaging. I like the difference here. Again, developing a character and getting us interested and wanting to see what this is going to present later on. And she did a great job, I thought. Excuse me here, because I thought I was going to sneeze there for a second. Pardon me. I liked it. I thought it worked. And, and I'm a big fan of RJ Cities too. So, him, making those facials and stuff like that made the segment work as well. So the new re-debut of Toni Storm, for lack of a better term, I enjoyed it.
First off, I can vouch for Jimmy. There's no more uncomfortable feeling in the world than being on a live mic, and it's even worse with a camera on you, and you feel like you have to sneeze. I mean, it's right up there next to when you get that tickle in your throat. You're all eyes are on you, but yeah, having to sneeze is terrible. I'm glad you mentioned RJ City. Obviously, RJ up there in Toronto, where you are. RJ, a former LaBar guy on the independent scene. Love RJ, one of the most creative guys I've ever met, and I'm not just in wrestling, just in general.
Yes.
I honestly think it would be a nice little flip of the switch, little flip of the script here. Let RJ represent, manage, accompany to the ring, valet. RJ would be the one that want to be the male who's referred to as a valet. Let him have that role with Toni Storm. I think RJ is so entertaining. He does great doing the pre-show stuff. He does great doing the stuff with Renee. Yeah. Obviously, he's shining in these things with Toni Storm. But I think put him out there in front of the live crowd. I think let him be out there with Toni. I feel like the things that he would do with her before the match, in between moves, and after the match would only enhance the entire presentation and character.
No, I agree with you that he is a star, and he in the making if they let him be. And they're missing out on an opportunity here of using a very creative mind. As you know, his mind is always working, and he likes to get people to laugh.
Yes,
that's for sure. And you know what? He generally succeeds. And I like that idea. I think it would work.
Well, and again, I like you don't get it a lot of the male accompanying the female. You don't get that too often, and it would just be the perfect kind of dynamic of RJ. Right. I think doing that. And for people that don't know a lot about RJ or don't know beyond what you've seen of him just on the AEW features he does, RJ's entire shtick and origin of his shtick is he loves old-timey Hollywood. He loves Ethel Merman and show tunes, and he has the depth of his encyclopedic knowledge of film and TV history, both mainstream and obscure, so it kind of fits really into her playing this timeless Toni Storm, this crazy Marilyn Monroe kind of visual. I don't know. I'd love to see it. Right. And if you have not seen RJ, he does a series on AEW's YouTube. It's called Hey AEW, where he sits down with different talent and he just asks them the most awkward questions possible. And just gets their reaction and flies with it. It is very fun to watch. Yeah. And I like it because it started out as like a 5-minute thing. Now they're letting it go as long as like 15 minutes. I think they're probably seeing people are tuning in.
Right.
So good on RJ.
Good for him. Yes.
We'll get back to Toni briefly because I like to try to keep things in order. But a match coming up just about at the scheduled women's time slot. All right. Bullet Club Gold comes out. They call out MJF. MJF comes out. He's ready for a Stockton street fight. He gets in the ring. That runs off the 3 men that are out there of the 2 young guns and Juice Robinson. But then Jay White attacks from behind. He walks out with the AEW World title and then gets to the top of the ramp and challenges MJF, Jimmy, for that AEW World title on November 18th at Full Gear in LA. So calls his shot. MJF accepts it. Excuse me. A little surprised. What about you? It's October 4th that they already made the challenge and accepted the challenge for that match. Still 6 weeks out. I have no problem with them putting a match like that, putting the world title match out there on paper. I think sometimes they wait too long until they start announcing matches. I'm fine with it, but I ask you, what is the next 6 weeks of TV going to look like to keep the fire and heat going between these guys?
That's going to be the challenge. And you hit the nail right on the head there, Justin. It's 6 weeks worth of television. MJF is a guy who can be very entertaining every week, through those 6 weeks. But again, it is 6 weeks and you can only do so much every week. it's going to be tough. Let's put it that way. I do find it interesting that MJF here is coming off as a complete babyface. They're running with this thing, and the crowd is loving it. Let's put it that way. They're buying into it. Whether there is some kind of a swerve coming down the line, I don't know. But to your point, though, to build to this match for 6 more weeks is not going to be easy, especially when you have Jay White with Juice Robinson and the Guns, and MJF as of right now is flying solo.
Well, and the comment on the screen of Mike Martin, he's saying maybe they're trying to build a story and interest, Justin. Yes, Mike. I pieced that together. What I'm talking about is, and again, I have no problems with them attempting to do that. I applaud that. I would rather them do that. I hate it when we're 2 weeks out or less than, and when we're just now getting matches announced. I'm fine with them announcing the match. What I'm getting at is we have 6 weeks now. If this was WWE, like they would have MJF run through the rest of Bullet Club Gold. He'd fight each of the Guns. He'd fight you, but they don't do that. And with AEW, I'm okay with it. MJF doesn't fight a ton of matches. They have made him. They've kept him full time by keeping him on TV every week because you have to, because he's so damn entertaining and he's your champion. But he does not wrestle every week. He doesn't even wrestle every month necessarily. And I think that's a good call by AEW and by Tony Khan, and I'm sure MJF has a say in that as well. I think it's a good call to keep it of an attraction. So what I'm getting at is over the next 6 weeks, if he can't run through a gauntlet, and why would he run through a gauntlet? He's the champion.
Right.
If he's not going to run through all the lackeys, what are we doing for those next 6 weeks? Now, there's still, of course, the question of who the hell attacked Jay White a week earlier, and then they're having the devil mask on. We got no furthering of that story tonight, other than commentary saying MJF has no idea that somebody stole the mask out of his locker room. So I guess we have that dynamic to play with over the next 6 weeks of who were those said masked men, and when will they make their presence felt again, if they do. But that's what I'm really watching here. Is we got 6 weeks, and MJF doesn't wrestle every week, so you know.
No, I hear you.
What they're gonna do. I thought for sure when Jay White attacked MJF and MJF's down on the ground selling it in the ring,
right?
And Jay White and crew go to the top of the stage and then proceed to cut a promo. And I think he even said, like, I know it was you behind the mask. I know that's how you are. Your denial just kind of proves it because that's the kind of person you are. I thought for sure, right here, here's a perfect spot. You're telling, that it's MJF. You're up at the top of the stage. Have the lights go out. Lights come back up. Jay White and the entire crew are laid out. Just the devil's mask is left on top of them.
Ooh.
And MJF's still in the ring. So now it's like, well, it wasn't MJF because he's right there in the damn ring.
Right.
And I thought that's where we're going. I thought that's why they moved them. It's like blocking on theater. I thought that's why they moved them to the top of the stage, was to pull off something like that.
I hope somebody from AEW Creative is watching and listening to this, because that is, I like that. That is something, you would see with the other guys that would get over. That's very, if I may go this, Bray Wyatt-ish would be very cool.
The AEW booking team's already turned us off, I have a feeling.
Oh, okay.
But thank you for your support. I thought it was a good idea. I don't know. You can't.
Hey, I like it.
We have the luxury of, again, booking after
armchair quarterback.
Booking.
Yeah.
We're not sitting there with the pen and paper being told to fill the 2 hours. We just get to react to the 2 hours.
Exactly.
But as he said it, that's what I thought. I was like, oh, that's why he's up on the top of the stage. They're going to make it so they can quickly knock somebody out and whatever. We'll see.
Right.
But we have our first match announced for Full Gear, so there we go. All right, up next, we get Jericho and Kenny Omega up against Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. Now, earlier, Don Callis was a backstage earlier. Sammy Guevara was supposed to be in the spot. Sammy's not medically cleared, and so he announces Kyle Fletcher. I'm sure we will get. I'm sure some in the chat will correct us or verbally lash us. Callis gave a brief, quick on Kyle Fletcher. I don't know who the hell he is. I don't know if he's a ring. I don't know if he's being pulled from Ring of Honor. I don't know if he's a New Japan guy. I don't know who he is. We go to the match. Don's on commentary. Don, they're putting over Kyle Fletcher. He's 6'4". He's not afraid. He's out there, whatever. But eventually, Kenny's going to end up beating Fletcher using the one wing angle, getting the pin on him. And then Callis is pissed. Callis thinks this Fletcher guy just screwed him. So before we get to the shenanigans after the match, This would be the time for the chat to go ahead and tell me who the hell Kyle Fletcher is, if you know. And Jimmy, react to the match, please.
Just surprising to me that all that stuff went on during the match. There was a point in the match where even Don Callis said on commentary, and I quote, "The referee, I don't know what she's doing in there right now," because it broke down so badly so many times.
I missed that.
Yeah, we're everyone was in the ring for far, far too long. You might as well have just made it a Texas Tornado match, because that's how it felt. Okay, what does it say there? Kyle Fletcher in Aussie Open.
See, I know Aussie Open. I didn't know the names of the guys in Aussie Open. So that at least helps me then. Okay.
And to that point, that's when commentary is supposed to come in and explain things to the audience instead of assuming that everybody knows who this guy is. For those of you who are not familiar with Kyle Fletcher, this is who he is, and that sort of stuff. But yeah. They missed the boat on that one. Let's put it that way. And again, during the match, you have veteran guys in there doing stuff that I can't believe, they did.
Yeah. Sorry. So Omega's going to get the win on Kyle Fletcher. And then we get Powerhouse Hobbs. He appears out of nowhere and attacks Kenny Omega, beats him outside, really whips him to death with guardrails. Mm-hmm. Gets him back in the ring. They duct tape Kenny Omega to the ropes. At this point, Jericho's trying to intervene. They're beating up Jericho. Callis is out there at this point. They end up taking a chair, and Callis does a chair shot directly to Kenny Omega's head. Commentary sells the dent in the chair. Commentary sells, especially Taz, that's a thing of the past. And Taz talking about that's from my era. I know about that. Of course, they're talking about headshots, chair headshots, which have basically been outlawed, at least in mainstream pro wrestling, at least in AEW, at least in WWE and NXT. Right. You can't really speak for independents. Everybody kind of does their own thing, but mainstream on TV, for all that we know about CTE and about head trauma, chair shots to the head have been a thing of the past. You just don't do it. But they straight up did it.
Yes.
I'm not gonna be fickle or a prude. It's pro wrestling. It's not ballet.
Right.
Part of me is a little shocked they did it. Part of me is also like, well, that here we are talking about it. It made an impact. I got a two-part question. That's my first part to you. What did you make of the choice that here in this moment we're going to have a headshot with a chair to Kenny Omega?
You could have done so many different things to protect him better than that. And you know what I mean? With what we've learned with the head trauma over the years, and, rightfully so, yes, sometimes wrestlers are their own worst enemy because they say, hey, just go ahead and, waffle me with the chair. That was the old school mentality, but now we know better. That head trauma can cause some severe damage. Now, you saw the dent in the chair. Yeah. So obviously he didn't hit him, full 100%, but he gave him a good whack. Let's put it that way. And I just don't agree with that. There's other ways you can do injury angles.
Well, and never mind. And also, I mean, it's a chair shot to the head. I'm sure you have, Jimmy. I've took a chair shot to the head, but while still trying to allow it to look and sound whatever, I still got some hands up to deflect as you should.
Right.
His hands are tied. There is no whatever. So he's taking a blunt chair shot. I'll be okay. Okay, one time, and you're right. It wasn't a full blast. Okay, for the effect of the angle and everything, Kenny wants to take a chair shot. But I have to ask: is it best for Don to give it to him, or if you're trying to make a case that Powerhouse Hobbs is now the next big deal in the Callis family? Does he do it? Because this entire thing with Omega and Callis, and they have all these other bit players, all these other people, this Don Callis family, all these other people around them. All I ever find myself saying at the end of these segments was, wow, Don Callis and Kenny Omega, they really hate each other. I really want to see Kenny Omega kick Don Callis' ass. That's all I care about. I don't care about Takeshita. I don't care about Sammy Guevara in this case. And at the moment, I don't even really care about Hobbs. So part of me is like, I keep walking away with this, and it's like, I kind of just want to see Kenny Omega have a match with Don Callis. That's what I want to see. That's where the heat is for me, is on Don Callis. But I don't know if that's what they want it to be.
I get that, but at the same time, if you're going to do something like this, you're going to give it to somebody like a Don Callis who I hate to say it, but a more seasoned veteran when it comes to swinging chairs at some people's heads. You know, if you gave it to Hobbs and he held back, it would be, I think, very noticeable. And Hobbs not, laying one in there would look bad because he's a big, powerful guy. So if he doesn't lay it in, it's not going to look good. And people will go, oh, come on. But now they're going, oh, come on. You know what I mean? With somebody like a Don Callis.
Deadpool Party says, he says he thinks there's supposed to be a blood spot too. He says, but the blood tablet on his head didn't burst. Justin.
Oh, I don't know about that, but what?
Okay. It was the Heinz.
Yes.
Packet that didn't break.
Exactly.
I did not expect this night. That was not on my bingo card to have
no.
A chair shot to the head. An unprotected chair shot to the head.
Unprotected chair shot to the head. And even the shot to Jericho kind of snuck in there too, with the edge of the chair. Kind of, Jericho did try to put his hands up, but it kind of snuck through. So
I'll let you answer this, Jimmy. I have the answer for you. But Mike asks, Jimmy, aren't they all professionals? Isn't this professional wrestling? They should know how to do this right.
Of course they should know how to do it. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that everybody can do it right. It's one thing to say, hey, they're professional wrestlers. They know how to take a flat back bump. They know how to do a headlock. They know how to tie up. They know how to have a wrestling match. This is an inanimate object that you're sort of in control of, but not completely in control of. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when people make those comments like they're professional wrestlers, they should know. Like, I hope people realize. Yeah, there's obviously you want to be a professional wrestler, you want to be well trained and well experienced, but like you're dealing with human bodies and gravity and this and that. Like you do realize one of the most basic things we've all seen 1,000 of them in our lifetime. Mm-hmm. Your basic body slam suplex, the basic slam that Hulk did to Andre when he got him up. Mm-hmm. Mania 3. You do realize if just one wrong thing happens, somebody could break their neck on that move. Mm-hmm. Like I think fans have become so numb to how much we've seen and how many things it takes to get a guy or girl down for the 1, 2, 3. I think they forget like some of the most basic stuff. If something just goes to the slightest bit wrong, this inch or that inch, it's somebody's career.
Well, yeah, but look what happened to Adam Cole.
Yeah, right, exactly. He jumped off a ramp.
Yes, exactly. And you have headshots like that with the chair. And why is that different from like the first match where Ray got how many bumps did he take in a row on his top of his head? I think it was 2 or 3, whatever. Anyways, very selective. Let's put it that way.
All right, choo-choo. Train's never late. Time for your women's match. It is Sky Blue. I like Sky Blue, by the way. I get excited when I see Sky Blue. Sky Blue up against Timeless Tony Storm. No shock here. Timeless Tony Storm's going to win here. But picking up where we left off and just put a bow on Tony Storm. A character. One of the more interesting things that AEW's put on TV right now. I am definitely in my seat watching when she's on.
Right. Absolutely. And the big thing about it was that entrance, that new entrance with the shot in black and white.
Yeah.
Like the old school. And if you
again, RJ City's entrance would be in black and white if he was wrestling in AEW.
Yeah, that would be cool too. But even in the match, she was a heel, but it was almost like an old school heel as well.
Yeah,
the way she cheated, so to speak, and did little things that old school heels would do. I liked it. I like the new character. I think it can go places. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's got a lot of potential to it. All right, time for our main event segment. This is going to run over by at least 5 minutes or so. Well, first off, before we get into the actual segment, it's been announced, it's advertised all day on social, advertised all night tonight. Adam Copeland, previously known as Edge, going to have his first AEW match next Tuesday. Title Tuesday, of course, the Dynamite special that we talked about on Tuesday. We kicked off the show talking about it's being moved and preempted because of baseball playoffs. Here's something to think about, Jimmy, and I don't know if you saw this tweet that I put out earlier. Next Tuesday, from Independence, Missouri, the pride of the Midwest, Title Tuesday, AEW Dynamite, Soraya is going to have a match. Bryan Danielson's going to have a match. Adam Copeland's going to have a match. all three at one point retired and told you have career-ending neck injuries. You're donezo.
Wow.
Think about that.
Wow. That is something I did that didn't, register at first. And now that you brought it up, I'd say, oh yeah.
Right.
That's amazing. And, I wish nothing but the best for all of them. And hopefully,
round of applause for science and the medical community.
Whatever they did, keep it up. That's for sure. But, having this segment too at the end, like I said, the entrance was cool. Getting to see him back there and do what he does best is entertain. Because you talk about creative guys, we talked about RG City and stuff like that. Edge is also a creative guy. And going back to those sitting in on listening to them talk about the TLC matches and stuff like that and going over stuff.
Yeah,
man, not just that, but in everything from storytelling to stuff like that. He's got it. Let's put it that way. And hopefully, like I mentioned to you, I think on Monday night, hopefully the young talent takes advantage of his brain, because he is more than willing to share that 31 years, I believe, of experience with that talent, because he's a guy who wants to help elevate.
Yeah. He's obviously, him very well. We talked about it Monday. Guy wrote the foreword into your book, which is a great book, by the way. People, if you never checked out, it's over here on my bookshelf. Jimmy's got a great book. Check it out.
Thank you.
Edge wrote the foreword to it. But he is, from all that I've ever gathered, he is the kind of guy who, if he's there in the building to work, which he is now with AEW, it doesn't matter if you are semi-main eventing before him or if you're working the dark matches, just trying to get yourself bumped up. If you walk up to him and ask for some advice or ask for an opinion or whatever, he will engage with you. You're not too far beneath him for him to do that, which I think is pretty awesome, because we've of course heard about guys in past eras and past times who aren't as giving of their knowledge.
Absolutely.
Real quick, as we do our armchair booking and stuff like that. Where is it out here? Christopher. All three of them, Saraya, Bryan Danielson, and Edge, Adam Copeland, all three of them should start a faction with Roderick Strong, and it's called Next Strong.
Oh my goodness.
There we are. It's the Next Strong.
Yeah. See, sometimes something triggers something in the old melon and go, hey.
Right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
Right there. All right. So Adam Copeland comes out with Tony Schiavone in ring, talks about how he and Schiavone is the soundtrack of his childhood. Pretty cool. First time ever seen these two guys in the ring. Tony hit the bricks. Adam Copeland calls out the dream matches. Starts naming people. Kenny Omega, right? John Moxley, Miro. Starts naming people that he could have some matches with in AEW. Talks about why did he come back. Talks about how his daughter said, go have fun with Uncle Jay, a.k.a. Christian Cage. Yeah. And so that's why he's here. But he saw what Christian was doing, and he wasn't about to let Christian give a concerto to Sting. Sting, the guy that Adam Copeland and Christian Cage grew up, with posters on the wall mocking their haircuts off of. So what are you doing, dude? I've come here to AEW to be with you, to be with Uncle Jay. Let's do what we haven't done in a long, long time. Let's reform our tag team and have some final glory days. Very heartfelt, very believable. Fans are there hanging on the heartstrings. The hug, the embrace, big applause. And Christian, while still in the hug, which I think is key for the effect, while still embracing the hug, tells him to go F himself. Right. Yeah. And then he leaves, and then he brings out Luchasaurus to remind Adam Copeland what you're going to be up against next Tuesday. Jimmy, thoughts on the verbiage and execution of this entire thing?
See, here's the thing. You got an honest and open Edge. Or Adam Copeland. See, it's hard. It's going to be hard to get that Edge thing out.
And I can't even write AC because I write AC for Adam Cole. So
right, exactly. There are too many Adams. Anyways, but that's what he was. He was honest, and I'm pretty sure that it's the absolute truth that his daughter Lyric said, "Go have fun with Uncle Jay," and that's probably one of the things that motivated him to go there. Is the ability to not only maybe have a match with Uncle Jay, but also maybe once again they get the team together, because AEW is the place where you can see maybe Edge and Christian versus the Hardys again, and maybe have Devon and Holy come in, and you get another three-way with those three teams. There are some possibilities there that can happen.
And so they call upon a ref from past TLC days.
Well, maybe, but with some of my critiques of AEW, it probably won't happen. But that's another story for another day. Yeah. But there's so many possibilities. Like you said, working with some of the talent he hasn't got to work with before, and that should be awesome. And then working with guys that he has worked with before and can put on one hell of a match with these guys. There's just so much possibilities. There's a lot they can do with Edge in it. And like I've said before, probably one of the top three signings that they've made.
Yeah. So, all right. So it looks like where we're going here is we're going to string this along. I mean, look, Christian's been one of the best heels they've had, but I get it. You can't bring in Adam Copeland and ignore the elephant in the room that his kayfabe brother is there. Right. So I get it. We're gonna string along here, and eventually, right, Jimmy? Eventually, the payoff is Christian sees the light. Adam even acknowledged it. Said, "Look, eventually, Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus are going to drop your ass when they've sucked all the knowledge out of you." So I mean that's where we're headed, right? Is we're waiting for the true reunion, and these guys get to have like the retirement tag team tour.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm anticipating, because I think Edge wants to go out on his terms, and I think he's earned that right.
Oh, hell yeah!
So and as much of as they, kind of blocked it out on TV, as much of a dick as Christian can be, I'm sure he would love to have that one last, like you said, retirement run with Adam as his partner, going up against maybe even FTR and some of the guys that they could have some great matches with, some great tag teams. Can you imagine them against guys like the Guns, guys like FTR?
Well, yeah, I mean, he Adam named FTR, and that's not a surprise, because I know that he's close with the one with Cash. I know that when Edge was getting ready to come back as Edge, Cash was a guy that he trained with in secret. There in Carolinas. Yeah, I think you have Edge and Christian, and I think first FTR. I think you mentioned the Bucks. I mean, look, he didn't name it because I don't even know if they'd want to go down this path of nostalgia. But you have both Hardys there, and then by the way, I know you said earlier Diva, and I don't know if that's going to happen. But what a meeting of eras it would be if you had Edge and Christian versus the Hardys versus the Young Bucks. Ooh. And the Young Bucks are famously inspired by the Hardys. So what an infusion of the past and present. So I think the fun thing will be to watch at when do they veer off into the to the fork in the road of where we do the Adam Copeland, Jay Russo retirement tag team versus how do we stay on course to do all these singles matches that Adam Copeland should do that can make us some money. So that'll be kind of fun to see how they balance that act.
Exactly.
And how long do they draw that act? How long do they draw it out until we get to that tag?
I know that, and I guess they've been talking about that he's going to be on every week, which is a good thing, and also maybe not so good thing, because you don't want this to people to go, here we go again, more Adam Copeland, when he should be letting other guys or elevating other guys. We talk about him elevating other guys, let them appear, but now they've got to fill programming for 3 nights now.
Yeah.
So is it just on Dynamite that he's going to appear? Is he going to appear on Collision? Is he going to appear on Rampage?
Bite your tongue. Adam Copeland's not appearing on Rampage.
Oh, well, you never know. Sometimes when the ratings go down, you got to bring some people in, but hopefully that's not what he's used for. And they
can't go any further. Just let it be.
Okay.
I guess. Well, they say he's going to be on every week. Again, give it the MJF treatment. Let him be on every week, but I hope to God they're not going to plan to have him have a match every week.
No,
because at some point you have to put, if he was here right now, he'd slap me for saying this, but because I get that he's earned this right to call this shot, but I mean, let's just be real here. You have to put the guy on a pitch count. Don't have him taking bumps every week. No, that's not. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's bad for the investment. You don't need him to take bumps every week for him to be a successful impact on the product.
And like you said earlier, sometimes the simplest move can cause an injury. And if for someone who has a history of neck issues, let's use them wisely.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. All right. Well, that was the Dynamite 4-year anniversary. Again, a different kind of Dynamite than what it looked like 4 years ago, but I don't think that's a bad thing. If I'm answering honestly, I think this format and state of Dynamite looks better than what things did do 4 years ago, which it should. That's the goal, right? You should be getting better as time goes on. I don't know what the situation is next week with the podcast because again, Dynamite being on Tuesday.
Right.
There's normally a separate crew on Tuesday to do NXT. If that crew's doing that, they're going to have their hands full with a a loaded NXT plus a loaded kind of programming Dynamite. So stay tuned to Wrestling Inc. and I guess the socials or our socials will let you know what's going on. Another question coming in for you, Jimmy. This is a super chat from Wrestling Enthusiast saying, Jimmy, were you ever close to a WWE return? Context, you were with WWE until 07, correct? In 07, you were let go?
No, 09.
09.
Early 09, yes.
That's right. That's right.
I don't want to say that I was close to coming back, but there was a slight discussion. It just, the timing didn't work out. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess, with the performance and everything now, I guess, nothing's ever completely done, right? It's, even if you're not going to be in the ring every show doing roughing a match, you could always, training and different things at the performance center. The door's never shut, right?
Wouldn't mind that, especially down in Florida. My goodness.
Oh, yeah. Spend your winters in Florida, the performance center versus Toronto.
Right.
You don't have to shovel snow down the performance center.
Wrestling Enthusiast. No, thank you, buddy.
Very good stuff. I still think Jimmy's a future Hall of Famer. I think we're going to open up the referee wing soon enough. I'll be there when it does happen. I'll be there, black tie and all.
Oh man,
getting dressed up for the moment. It'll happen.
You're too kind.
I'm just calling it like it is. All right, that's things tonight here. So a lot of exciting stuff. Adam Copeland, wish him well on the new venture. Again, next Tuesday is gonna be fun to watch as that's gonna unfold. All kinds of good stuff. And then let's not even forget this Saturday we have WWE Fastlane. WWE Fastlane. John Cena's teaming with LA Knight. Yeah, lots to talk about there. I'll be previewing that. I'll be previewing, giving all my predictions this Friday morning. Spar with LaBar on Busted Open Radio. Don't miss it. Myself and Dave LaGreca, Thunder Rosa at Just LaBar's socials. That's my cheap plug. Jimmy, what you got?
Well, like you said, you can catch me here on Mondays and Wednesday nights after Raw and Dynamite, respectively, and just talking about what we saw, and like we did tonight. And also, you can catch me. I think I'm going to take one more week off, but then I'll be returning to the Roughing It Up podcast with my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, and RJ, who holds it all together. Thank you, RJ. Not RJ City. Because we have a lot of fun doing that stuff, and of course, I have a lot of fun doing my ref and rants on a weekly basis from Monday to Wednesday. Again, my critiques are not to tear down, but to help tighten screws, in my opinion, things that need to be tightened.
When you do the ref and rants, be honest, is that coffee a prop or are you drinking that coffee? It's decaf now. I'm trying to stay away from a little bit of caffeinated because I've been drinking far too much coffee, but it is the bottom half of the coffee of the cup has coffee in it. All right, so it's not a gimmick coffee; it's real coffee.
No, it's real coffee. Yeah,
very good, very good. Check him out, Ref and Rants. The best 60 seconds of your morning. I think he needs to do them longer, but
hey, but
he likes to leave the people wanting more. I get it.
There you go.
I get it. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Again, thanks to everybody in the live chat. Thanks to everybody who's watching and listening after the fact. If you're on one of the many podcast platforms, we appreciate it. Again, if you could subscribe. First off, subscribe so you get that alert every time a new podcast from Wrestling Inc. does come out. But if you could definitely leave a comment, that would be great. Let us know what you're thinking. Tweet at Justin LaBar or tweet or X, whatever you do. Whatever you do on the thing, at Justin LaBar, at Jamie Korderas. Let us know what you're thinking. We appreciate it. That's going to do it. More Wrestling Inc. podcast throughout the week. Check them out. Be good. Be good to everybody else, and we will talk to you next week.